Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Jimmy Butler's agent takes dig after recent performance. After Jimmy Butler managed to score just 3 points in the Miami Heat's season opener against the Orlando Magic, a lot of questions were being raised. Were his days as a top player over? Was it time for the organization to move on and find a new face for the franchise? Was it time to trade him? Of course, all of those questions were premature. You cannot make such assessments after just one game. Yet, that is how fast the NBA world moves these days. Well, it did not take Butler long to answer the critics. He had 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists in the Heat's very next game, as they won against the Charlotte Hornets. In many ways, it was a statement and a reminder of how great he truly is. And his agent, Bernie Lee, also took the opportunity to take a few digs on social media. Butler followed that performance up with another good one. He scored 23 points, had 7 assists and 4 rebounds as the Heat won against the Detroit Pistons. Those 2 wins mean that the Heat's campaign is back on track, and a lot of the pressure that had been placed on them after that season opener has now been relieved. It is great to see Butler playing well. If the Heat are to have a good season and potential deep run in the playoffs, they will need playoff Jimmy at his very best. Butler's long-term future in Miami remains up in the air. The expectation is that he will opt out of his player option and become a free agent next summer. Of course, that means that the chances of the Heat exploring a trade cannot be ruled out. He has been linked with the Golden State Warriors, Brooklyn Nets, and Houston Rockets in recent times. 3 things the Heat must do to pass their toughest test of the season so far. Coming off 2 straight wins, the Miami Heat host the New York Knicks in what is their toughest test of the season so far. Here's what they need to do to make it 3 in a row. 1. Don't let Jalen Brunson beat you. It's been a relatively quiet start to Brunson's season. He's posted 22, 26, and 21 points, while shooting 47.4% overall and 36.4% from three-point range. Those aren't bad numbers by any stretch, but they are a far cry from the MVP-caliber explosions he was known for last season. It's not a matter of whether Brunson will erupt, it's when. The Heat have to make sure it doesn't happen Wednesday night. As such, Terry Rozier will have his hands full to start the game. Rozier got torched by Cade Cunningham in the first half of Monday's win over the Detroit Pistons, and Brunson is a much greater offensive threat. Jimmy Butler will choose his spots to pick up Brunson, likely in the second half. Haywood Highsmith could be an option that coach Eric Spoelstra turns to if things get out of hand early. 2. Bam Adebayo vs. Karl-Anthony Towns. If Brunson has been quiet to start the season, Adebayo has been silent. He's averaging 11 points so far this season and has yet to make a three-pointer or flash the dominance he showed in the preseason. This matchup against Towns could be his get-right game. Towns has struggled as the anchor of New York's defense, and Adebayo tends to take matchups personally against all-star big men. Last season, Adebayo averaged 20.5 points and 47.2% shooting against Towns' Timberwolves. The Knicks are a much stronger defensive team on the perimeter, where OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges have the potential to give Rozier and Tyler Herro fits. The Heat relied on their guards to carry the offense against the Pistons, but they will likely rely on Bam to do more heavy lifting in this matchup. 3. When the bench minutes, the Heat have the 3rd most productive bench in the league, outscoring opponents by 6.5 points per game with their reserves on the floor. Part of that is due to Butler joining them for key minutes, but credit should also go to Duncan Robinson, Alec Burks, Jamie Jaquez Jr., and Thomas Bryant for their effort when 4 of the 5 starters exit the game. The Knicks don't have such a second unit. Dealing with injuries to Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa, New York is already shorthanded. When Brunson exits the game, they rely on Miles McBride to lead the offense. Towns has had a tendency to disappear. Winning these bench minutes could be a game-swinging advantage against a top-heavy Knicks team. It's been 3 games. The games matter, but it's also an extremely small sample size. Stats can change with one performance. Teams at the bottom of the league standings in three-point shooting can soar to the top with a single hot shooting night. So, when looking at these league-wide stats, it's important to keep all of that in perspective. Although it's too early to sound any alarms, there are a few things that the Miami Heat should be monitoring and working on improving. Dwayne Wade sends honest message to Jimmy Butler amid Miami Heat exit rumors. Dwayne Wade has been the talk of the basketball world over the last few days, for both the right and the wrong reasons. On one hand, he became the first player in Miami Heat history to get his statue outside the team's arena. On the other hand, the statue became the target of memes due to the lack of similarity with Wade. Some have gone as far as to call it the worst statue in sports history. Wade does not seem to care though, and is laughing along with the memes, happy with the magnitude of the honor that was bestowed upon him. If Jimmy Butler can lead this Heat team to an NBA championship, he might get his statue outside the Kaseya Center one day. The chances of that happening are getting narrower by the day though. Butler has come close on 2 occasions, carrying the Heat to 2 NBA Finals, against all odds and expectations. But both times, they came up short on the biggest stage, losing to the Los Angeles Lakers and Denver Nuggets. Now, 35 years of age, there are doubts whether Butler is still capable of taking the Heat to the NBA Finals. Not only is his age a factor, but his long injury history. Many believe that is the reason the Heat did not make any significant win-now moves this summer, as they are already moving on to the Bam Adebayo era. Wade has an honest message for Butler regarding what his former Chicago Bulls teammate needs to do at this point in his career. According to Anthony Chang in the Miami Herald, Wade said, "Roles change and you got to find that role and you got to find that comfort." So right now, we're watching a team finding themselves, and Jimmy has to find his role on this year's team. It's not the same as the first year when he got here. The personnel is different. He's different, he's older, as well. Miles are adding up. But he's smarter as a basketball player than he's ever been. Butler's long-term future with the Heat remains in doubt though. It is expected that he will opt out of his player option to become a free agent next summer. Could that lead to the Heat exploring trade options surrounding Butler rather than risk seeing him walk out for nothing next year? He has been linked with the Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets, and Brooklyn Nets in recent times. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Jimmy Butler? Leave your opinion in the comments.